How do I fix Commodore 60 for game compatibility issues? Imagine firing up your old Commodore 64 and finding that your favorite game just won't run right. It can be frustrating, but don't worry. There are solid ways to get your classics working smoothly again. First, it's important to understand that the Commodore 64's hardware relies on specific chips like the kernel read-only memory, the character ROM, and the VIC-Two video chip. If any of these chips are damaged or mismatched, games can freeze, display incorrectly, or refuse to load. For example, a faulty kernel ROM can cause a blank or garbled screen. Replacing or reseating this chip often fixes the problem. The same goes for the character ROM, which handles how characters appear on the screen. If you see strange symbols or visual glitches, swapping out this chip can help. Next, check your game media and loading commands. Many games load from floppy disks or cassette tapes. Using commands like load *814 disk games is essential. If you see errors like device not present, it might mean the disk drive connection is loose or the interface chip controlling the drive is faulty. Carefully inspect the serial cable and connections, and, if needed, replace the interface chip. It's also good to know that different models of the Commodore 64 can affect compatibility. The Commodore 128 can run 64 software but, sometimes with slight issues, because of small differences in the kernel ROM. Using a true 64 or a replacement kernel ROM that mimics the original can help games run correctly. If you're using modern emulators or hardware like SD card disk drives, make sure they're configured to match the original system as closely as possible. Some games depend on timing quirks or specific hardware behaviors that emulators might not replicate perfectly. Using the correct ROM versions and loading settings can make a big difference. Finally, if you're connecting your system to a modern digital monitor, remember the original 64 outputs an analog signal. Without a proper S-video or composite to HDMI converter, the picture might look fuzzy or not show up at all. Using a converter designed for retro systems ensures you get a clear picture and can enjoy your games without compatibility issues. So, in summary, fixing game compatibility on a Commodore 64 involves checking and replacing key chips like the kernel and character ROMs, making sure your disk drive and cables are working properly, understanding model differences, configuring emulators or hardware correctly, and ensuring your video output is compatible with modern screens. These steps reflected the hands-on approach that was common back in the 1980s when troubleshooting was part of the fun of owning a classic computer.